Are you ready to uncover the truth behind the scenes of World Championship Wrestling? In this video, we'll be revealing the top 10 wrestlers who had a less than desirable experience working for the company. From creative differences to frustrating incidents, these wrestlers have some jaw-dropping stories to share. From the hilarious absurdity of being asked to play a prop comic to the devastating effects of strained relationships, this video will give you a behind-the-scenes look at the dysfunction that plagued WCW. So sit back and get ready to hear about the struggles working for the organization. Number 10. Bret Hart. Bret Hart is widely considered as one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time. His time in World Championship Wrestling, however, was far from memorable. Hart and Eric Bischoff have differing views on who was responsible for Hart's lackluster run in the company. While Hart argues that the booking never really put him as the top priority, Bischoff counters that Hart's emotional exhaustion and decline as a wrestler played a role. Regardless of who is to blame, Hart's time in WCW was marked by disappointment and frustration. Despite being a top name in the industry in 1997, Hart's character never quite caught on with the audience due to inconsistent booking. The tragic loss of his brother Owen in 1999 and his own career-ending head injuries only added to the misery of his WCW experience. All in all, Bret Hart's time in WCW was a low point in an otherwise illustrious career. Number 9. Ric Flair. Ric Flair, also known as the Nature Boy, is a legend in the world of professional wrestling. However, his time in World Championship Wrestling was marked by conflict and dissatisfaction. In 1991, Flair was so unhappy with the direction of the company under Jim Herd that he left for the WWE. Although his run in the WWE was successful, his return to WCW in 1993 was fraught with tension, especially with Eric Bischoff. The relationship between Flair and Bischoff reached a boiling point in 1998 when Flair skipped a scheduled appearance on Thunder to watch his son's wrestling match, leading to a court case. Despite the case being dropped, Flair's lack of confidence in the organization continued until its closure in 2001. In 2002, Flair made a return to the WWE but still had negative feelings about his time in WCW. Overall, Ric Flair's time in WCW was plagued by conflict and disappointment. Number 8. The Radicals. The Radicals were a group of 4 talented and experienced professional wrestlers who made a bold move in 2000 by jumping from WCW to WWE. Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn had been frustrated with the creative and professional neglect they faced in WCW, leading them to take the drastic step of moving together to WWE. In a final effort to convince them to stay, WCW even put the World Heavyweight Championship on Benoit, but it was to no avail. Their decision to leave was fueled by years of disappointment and frustration, as they had experienced a range of backstage problems, from being told they were too small to market, to being subjected to ridicule and disrespect from their boss Eric Bischoff. The Radicals' move to WWE marked a turning point in their careers, as they finally found a platform that appreciated and utilized their talents. Number 7. Shane Douglas. Shane Douglas and Billy Kidman were 2 of the 6 disgruntled wrestlers who were ready to leave WCW in search of better opportunities in 1999. However, the plans changed when Kidman decided to stay and try to make it work in WCW, leaving Douglas behind. Douglas was the victim of Vince McMahon's disinterest and the tight bond between the remaining 4 wrestlers. The lack of a deal for Douglas resulted in him being left behind when the quartet of Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Perry Saturn, and Dean Malenko arrived on Monday Night Raw. Ever since, Douglas has recounted the blame on missed phone calls and his exclusion from the group in several shoot interviews. Number 6. Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan, also known as The Brain, was a highly skilled and versatile wrestler, manager, and commentator. He was loved by fans for his entertaining commentary and physical bumps during his time as a wrestler. He eventually transitioned to the announce booth and became known as one of the best commentators in the business. However, when Heenan moved to World Championship Wrestling, WCW, he was disappointed with the company's lack of organization and structure, compared to his time in WWE. He never publicly expressed his dissatisfaction during his time in WCW, but he made his feelings clear after the company folded. Number 5. Scott Steiner. Scott Steiner's Big Papa Pump character was a perfect fit for the chaotic environment of WCW during the Monday Night Wars. However, during an episode of WCW's flagship show, Steiner's erratic behavior caused major disruption. He publicly criticized various power players in the company, including Ric Flair, and even encouraged viewers to switch over to watch Stone Cold Steve Austin on Raw instead. This was seen as highly destructive, and Steiner was eventually sent home with pay as punishment. Despite the consequences, Steiner didn't seem to care about the outcome. Number 4. Mick Foley. Mick Foley, performing under the persona of Cactus Jack, expressed his dissatisfaction with his role in WCW by spitting on the WCW Tag Team Championship and throwing it to the ground during an ECW promo. He was participating in dream matches with Sabu, which were part of a working relationship between ECW and WCW. However, Foley had creative issues with WCW's booker Ric Flair and management, leading to his desire to leave the company. The act of spitting on the championship was his way of expressing his disinterest in the belt and the company. In his first autobiography, he denies intentionally disrespecting the company, but acknowledges his growing frustration with his role in the company's management. 3. Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman and WCW had a tumultuous relationship during his time with the company in the early 1990s. As the psycho yuppie character, Heyman was a loud and over-the-top figure, and this was reflected in the events that led to his departure from WCW. The details of his lawsuit against the company for wrongful termination remain shrouded in secrecy due to the terms of the settlement, but there were reports of tension between Heyman and company management, including allegations made by former WCW executive Bill Watts. Heyman's anger towards his former employer was evident in his on-screen persona and in the way he talked about WCW publicly after his departure. This only added to his reputation as one of the most outspoken and controversial figures in the wrestling industry. 2. Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho's time in WCW was characterized by his attempts to break out of the cruiserweight division and become a main event star. He challenged Bill Goldberg, who was the world champion and the top star in the company at the time. However, Goldberg didn't appreciate Jericho's comedic approach to their interactions and ended up squashing Jericho's efforts with a single spear. Despite these setbacks, Jericho never lost faith in his abilities and believed that his future was in WWE. He left WCW in 1999 and joined WWE, where he went on to have a successful career. In retrospect, Jericho compared leaving WCW for WWE to living life in color instead of black and white, suggesting that he felt creatively stifled in WCW. This criticism is particularly notable given that WCW was responsible for creating several iconic characters and storylines during its heyday. 1. Steve Austin. Steve Austin, also known as Stunning Steve, was a wrestler in WCW who was struggling to reach the top of the company due to several setbacks, including an injury. Eric Bischoff, WCW's executive vice president, heard Austin yelling negative things about him over the phone and made the decision to cut Austin from the company. However, this decision was made in a controversial manner. Austin was left feeling hopeless about his chances in WCW, which was perceived as being controlled by Hulk Hogan. In mid-1995, Austin joined ECW and used his platform to publicly criticize Bischoff, Hogan, Dusty Rhodes and others for the way he had been treated in WCW. Austin's passionate speeches caught the attention of WWE and he was picked up by the company just months later. Austin's repurposed anger and bitterness towards WCW would eventually make Vince McMahon a billionaire and turn Austin into a merchandising machine. Bischoff's decision not to see the potential in Austin would turn out to be a costly mistake. The rest, as they say, is history. Austin's no-nonsense, rebellious attitude and catchphrases like Stone Cold Said So and Austin 316 made him a megastar and helped turn Vince McMahon into a billionaire. It's amazing to think that all of this was born from Bischoff's poor decision to cut Austin, but it's clear that everything worked out for the best, leading to Austin becoming the legendary figure we all know and love today. Thank you for watching German Suplex, where we delve into the careers and moments of some of the biggest names in professional wrestling history. We hope you enjoyed this journey through the past and present of the industry, and the stories behind some of its most iconic figures. Until next time, keep suplexing.